On this week's episode, Secrets of the Moon revealed right here on If You Only Knew. During last week's episode, I talked about NASA's Project Artemis, a 5-year plan to put man into the bases within the caves of the moon. I also mentioned that NASA's announcement of the 5-year time frame raises skepticism among critics, and there's also a distinct possibility that bases may have been there for some time already. However, it's a much bigger topic that I felt the moon deserved its own episode to more closely examine. Before we get into the details and facts about the moon that are too strange to ignore, let's look at some recent headlines that are worth factoring as we forge ahead. This article was released through the official publication of the Air Force to announce the launch of Space Command, which will include the Space Force and other space-oriented missions with other branches of the military. Space Command will direct operations within these divisions, and I want to highlight a story that was within many publications. However, many have not seen this information with the constant litany of information we are bombarded with every second of the day. It's no wonder many of us didn't see this. Did you know that the moon has an atmosphere? No, I'm not suggesting that astronauts can take off their helmets. It's the location of the moon and where our atmosphere actually stops. Guess what? It goes much further than we had originally thought. It thins as the distance increases from the Earth's atmosphere, but the fact remains that the moon is technically in the Earth's atmosphere and not space. Don't believe me. Seriously, don't. Come to your own conclusions by looking at all the links I included below in the description. You can do it. Speaking of which, let's look at some heavy metal. Just a little while back, there was an announcement that a giant metal object was discovered within the moon 180 miles deep into the surface that was the size of Hawaii. Just a reminder to those that did not know this, that the deepest known crater within the moon's surface is just 4 miles. So what is that thing? Was that the first hint that there might be something there on the moon, and now we have Project Artemis talking about a 5-year plan? Interesting, but let's come back to this. Right now, let's forge ahead. Now that we have established that the moon is basically in the sky and that there may be something of a monumental scale within the moon itself, let's cover some of the overwhelming truth about the size, location, composition, and history of the moon that defies belief. The sun is 108 Earths wide. 108 suns fit between the sun and the Earth. 108 moons fit between the moon and the Earth. And all the planets fit perfectly between the Earth and the moon if you line them all up. The distance between the moon and the sun are unique in respect to the solar system and other known systems, being that the sun is 400 times bigger and 400 times further away. And because of that precise alignment, it creates a solar eclipse. To many, the tidal lock orbital pattern of the moon rotating within the Earth so that you can only see 40% of the moon is unusual, but this is actually not uncommon within the solar system. However, the fact that we see the moon at night and the sun during the day is unique. For example, Mars has 2 moons. Jupiter has 79. Next, the moon is roughly 27% of the Earth's mass and is pretty much the largest known moon in proportion to the size of the planet. In fact, none of the other planets or systems come to even being close. Lastly, let's look at the experiment of the lunar lander during the Apollo missions. According to the astronauts, when the booster rockets were detached onto the surface, the astronauts were in total surprise to hear that what they described and the sensors detected as a giant gong sound. And to verify the findings, they even repeated the experiment with an even larger rocket that made an even greater sound. As you know, dropping a heavy object onto a solid rock should not make any sound and could only be explained by the fact that it might be hollow. Interesting. Since there's so many other videos that piece together what really happened during the Apollo missions, I decided to take this video with another direction. In fact, I recommend that you check out the Edge of Wonder videos on the moon and the follow-up they do on Stanley Kubrick. My goal, however, was to create a Moon 101 video that highlights important recent findings, some of the mysterious surroundings about the moon, and also to recommend checking out Above Majestic, which will present some of the most incredible accounts from vetted insiders such as William H. Thompkins, who was in the actual NASA control room during the Apollo missions. Mr. Thompkins also tells the story of the lunar landing, confirming that the landing did in fact take place, but that there was footage not seen by the public. while we will probably never get to see this footage. The crux of the account was that there was a group of larger ships surrounding the lunar crater that made their presence known. Allegedly, the lander was even escorted upon leaving the moon. The accounts and information on William H. Thompkins can be seen again in Above Majestic. I also recommend that you check out Goode, who recently disclosed more information regarding LBA, or the Lunar Base Alpha, which according to Goode is at the very minimum at least 11 floors deep into the moon's surface. It's supposedly one of 3 bases: Lunar Base Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie. Before I go, I want to leave you with footage that got this one YouTuber banned. The reason I present this for you is that within Corey's Goode account of the moon, there is a holographic projection that keeps the base concealed. And this footage is interesting because could it be the same technology and proof of Corey's account? I don't know, but you be the judge. So what did you guys think? Comment as you see fit below. Please like and subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. I'm Richard Brandt, and this is If You Only Knew.